Oh boy, so many box sets. Let's talk about one of my favorite authors who I don't think gets enough recognition, and that is Alex Rowland. For those of you who have been following my book reading journey, you know that I took a quick break to read Yield Under Great Persuasion because I needed a good, heartfelt, warm, loving, happy book for a moment because I had just read Heartless, which stole my soul and broke my heart. So I decided to reread Yield Under Great Persuasion, which is one of my favorite books by Alex Rowland. This is a super fantastic book. I rank it as a 6-star read. It is the greatest book I've ever read about apology. It is spicy, so keep that in mind. If you read the first couple pages and get a little overwhelmed, just read a couple more and you'll be fine. You'll be fine, okay? It's really, really good. And it's such a sweet story, and I absolutely love how Alex Rowland has crafted the Chantiverse. I hope I pronounced that correctly, because I've not listened to any of these audio version-wise, so I don't actually know if that's the correct pronunciation. But I'm happy with how I pronounce it. Okay, so as you can see, there are numerous books in the Chantiverse, and they are a little bit, as a series, the books don't have a lot of cohesiveness between them, but don't be dissuaded. This author has written the most 6-star reads that I have ever had in my library. I am still reading. Of course, there are possibilities for other authors, but I will say this has been one of my favorite authors. Absolutely love them. They're amazing. Taste of Golden Iron, 6-star read. Running Close to the Wind, 6-star read. Yield Under Great Persuasion, 6-star read. I love, love, love these books. The other books are a lot of 5-star, 5.5 stars. They're very close to 6 stars. They're so phenomenal. This universe is amazing, and I adore it. So let's go through how I would recommend reading Alex Rowland's Chantiverse. I have 2 reading orders that I would recommend. One is the spicy version, and one is the non-spicy version for those who would prefer it. Alex Rowland is a queer author who is making quite an impression in the fantasy world and in queer fantasy. Absolutely, absolutely love them. They are a phenomenal author. And keep in mind that these, although all in fantasy, do have different subgenres that I think are really important. For those of you who have no interest in reading spice, that is totally fine. I would recommend these 5 books, really 2 main books and 3 novellas. I would start with A Conspiracy of Truths. Don't get confused by this front cover. It makes it, in my opinion, look very much like an academic read. This is a hilarious book, all right? The main character is like this 70-year-old, really snarky, big opinionated guy who is in jail because he can't keep his mouth closed and he keeps causing trouble for himself. It is so funny. If you were told that The Starless Sea was going to be a story about stories and were disappointed like I was, this is actually a story about stories, and a really good one with really good cohesive narrative through it that I absolutely love. It is so, so funny. This does not have spice in it. I just love reading fantasy stories that take a different angle with a different type of character. We have a lot of those typical late teens, in their 20s characters in the fantasy world. I love all of them. You're awesome. But also, I love when we have a book about a random 70-year-old guy. Hilarious. It's just so fresh and so new. So if you feel like you're in a spiral of reading a lot of the same stuff, may I present to you A Conspiracy of Truths. I think I rated this 5.5 stars, and the only reason I didn't give it 6 stars was because I didn't want to immediately reread it. But I would like to point out that I don't reread any of my books for like a decade, usually. Alex Rowland's books are actually some of the only ones that I have reread very quickly in succession after each other. So this is still really, really good. After that, you can read its sequel, A Choir of Lies. This book absolutely can work as a standalone, so this is a great dip into this universe. If you don't want spice and you want to see what Alex Rowland is like, you're not committing to a series necessarily. This can absolutely be read as a standalone. In fact, most of Alex Rowland's books can be read as standalones. However, I do recommend that you read this book after A Conspiracy of Truths because that's the best placement for it. This one is an emotional ride. It is about a young man who is just a little emotionally heartbroken and devastated. And I love the format of this book. This book is written to the person who's reading it, which isn't you, the reader. So throughout this book, one of the very few books that I own that have footnotes, the footnotes are another character. They're the character who's reading this journal, if you will, this story of the main character, who's trying to explain himself to the character who is reading it. It's a little all over the place. So, so good. So I would recommend this. Next, this is another 4.5-star read. Loved it. For The Tale of the Chaunce, which is what these books are for, which are all of these books, The Tale of the Chaunce, it concludes with this very short novella, Over All the Earth. It's a 75-page book. I hardbacked mine. It only comes as paperback, although you can also read it online. And I loved it. It was really sweet and a really precious conclusion to the current Tale of Chaunce series. Again, all these could be read on their own. This one really, really needs to be read after A Choir of Lies. So you really should proceed through them as they are, but none of these finish on a cliffhanger, so you don't have to pick this up if you don't want to. It's totally okay if you don't. I don't know what I would rate this book, mainly because it's such a short novella. I feel like I kind of just want to wrap it up in the 5.5 rating that I would give to all of the Tale of the Chaunce books. So as a whole, across all of them, 5.5. Excellent. Continuing on for the non-spicy individuals, we have these 2 Tale of the Gods novellas, and they're really great as well. These can be read separately. They don't have to be read in a specific order. I recommend reading Some by Virtue Fall first. This is a story about some chaotic, theatrical, thespian lesbians who are a disaster. There's the theater and there's things go down. Really short. And then we have The Lights of Yistrixwood. That's how I pronounce that. Yistrax? I don't know. I like Yistrixwood. This is the only book on my shelf that I would currently consider that I've read a cottagecore book, which was really surprising and interesting. This one has no romance in it, really. It's just a walk through the woods. And it's really sweet and wonderful, and you meet some people along the way, and it fills your soul with joy, and so it's great. So both of these I personally hardbacked, so if you want them, you'll have to get them as a paperback. You can hardback them yourselves if you'd like, but I would recommend Some by Virtue Fall and then Lights of Ystrixwood as the last books that you'll read from what's currently published for Alex Rowland, if you are going on the non-spicy track. The only reason why I recommend reading Some by Virtue Fall first is because of the brief, it establishes the world of this polytheistic society really well, so you can understand how their god's system works. I think it's set up really well in Some by Virtue Fall, so that when you read Lights of Ystrixwood, it feels really just clear, you know what's going on, you know the references. Well, if you're down for spice, I recommend you start here. The first I would recommend is A Taste of Golden Iron. This is my special edition version. I absolutely love it. And I love this cover that is reversible and doesn't have any people on it. The inside is this gorgeous gold. Oh, I love it. Absolutely beautiful one. This is probably the second most beautiful book I own. The alternative cover is this one that most of you might be familiar with for Taste of Golden Iron. But I never have that on the front. It's just personally not my vibe to have people on my covers, and that's okay, to each their own. I would start with A Taste of Golden Iron. This is a phenomenal story. This does include a love triangle. I hate love triangles, and this is amazing. So keep that in mind. I read up on the author, and the author said that they wanted to include, hopefully I'm saying this correctly, that the author kind of wanted to take some of the tropes and some of the things that they had seen in other books that weren't done well, like a power imbalance between romance characters, like love triangles, etc., and wanted to write it well. And this is writing a lot of annoying tropes in a really good way. This is how I can accept them as really fascinating story plot points when usually I would reject a book for them. So I would start here. After that, you'll read the novella accompanying that book, which is Todak and the Princess. This is awesome. This is beautiful and wonderful, and it will surprise you. This has less to do with romance and more to do with just looking back in time and thinking about how you got where you are and some of the unique relationships and bonds that can be formed from trauma as well as through healing. So this is a beautiful, fantastic novella. I feel like personally I can't ever rate a novella 6 stars because it's so short, but this is the best novella I own, and that should stand as a statement all on its own. I would then recommend reading Running Close to the Wind. This is the other alternative cover for that book. This is the funniest book on my shelf. It is absolutely hilarious. It is a riot. It is pirates on the sea, and they're running away, and they're making choices, or making bad choices, and they're just like the funniest group ever. This is also the first time reading something that is a bit polyamorous, and it's just written so well. I wasn't annoyed by anybody. I wasn't annoyed by any of the characters. I so enjoyed this book. I would recommend reading this after Taste of Golden Iron and Todak and the Princess, but you don't have to. It's just that what happens in the very beginning of this book, what is subtly referenced in the beginning of this book, happens during A Taste of Golden Iron. So I feel like if you read that first, you'll have a good setup for understanding what's happening in the world, even though this is happening separate from A Taste of Golden Iron. It's happening mainly on ships out at sea. So I would read Running Close to the Wind. If you want to read just a really hilarious comedy and want to see what Alex Rowland can do with comedy, start here. It's amazing. If you can't do romance, start here. This is comedy and it's hilarious. It does have romance in it, which is awesome, but it's also just massively comedically hilarious. So that is these 3 paired books that I would really pair together and would read in this order. Again, you can read Running Close to the Wind before if you would like to. I would also like to point out 6-star read, phenomenal, should be paired, in congruency with this first book. So 6 stars together as well. 6-star read, funniest book I own, best love triangle that I've ever read. Awesome, awesome, awesome. After that, I would then go read Yield Under Great Persuasion. Again, this could be read first if you want to. I feel like this starts off so strong with the romance and the spice, and maybe that's your thing and that's awesome. But I think the reason why I would start with some of Alex Rowland's other books is because I think they ease you into this world really well and explain the gods really well. This book also does a really good job of doing that, but I would just recommend wise do it afterwards. It's also the most recent publication, so keep that in mind. The best book I've ever read about apology. 6-star read. I have reread this book 5 times, and I think it came out last year. And I very rarely reread books. I do reread books, but usually a decade later after I've forgotten most of it. This is my go-to when I'm sad book, and I can reread it in about 2 hours. It's very fast, very easy to read. So sweet. For the spicy journey people, I would then recommend you go and read the 2 novellas from Tales of the Gods, because I feel like they just fit in really well. Because that's the order that I read them in, and I really, really liked my reading order. So I would recommend reading these next if you're on the spicy train. Again, you can skip over these if you want to. It's no big deal. And as you've seen throughout my progression through this, there's a lot of differentiation in what the stories are. If it's comedy, if it's love triangle romance, if it's gay relationships, gay relationships like all of the ones I've currently mentioned. This is the only lesbian relationship that takes front and center stage for Some by Virtue Fall. Most of Alex Rowland's books are they're all queer relationships, but most of them are gay queer relationships. Oof. Getting it into my personal handmade box set. And then I would conclude with this 2-book plus novella set. So A Conspiracy of Truths, A Choir of Lies, and then Over All the Earth. And that is how I would complete your Alex Rowland journey. And then when you're done, you can join Alex's Discord server and talk to everybody else about how much you love these books as you wait impatiently for their next publication as you just like cling and can't wait to see what comes up next because wow, these books deliver. Oh my goodness. It's hard to hold all these at the same time. So there you are. My recommendation for Alex Rowland's universe, the Chantiverse. Amazing, fantastic. It's gay, it's queer, it's loving it. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And just one of the best writers that I have on my shelf by far. Excellent, excellent author. All right, till next time. And that is Alex Rowland.